Hello everybody, here I am in rural southwestern Pennsylvania, near the town of Sharpsville, and there's another town, I can't remember the name of it. It has the word toy in it though. This is the memorial for the Flight 93 from the 9/11 attack, and the plane didn't actually crash up here in the parking area. It's actually a very large memorial. Land-wise, it feels like it covers several hundred acres up here, maybe 1,000 acres, I don't know. It takes about 2 to 3 mile drive from the entrance to get here. There's kind of like a visitor center with a kind of a museum here. There's a kind of a conference center and bathrooms there. Hiking trails. It's September. Today is September 9th, and I'm one of 3 cars here. But here's the visitor center. It closes at 5. I got here right at 5. So this visitor center is shaped is like bullet shaped, and it's pointing basically right towards where the plane crashed, down below in the valley, down below in the meadow. This is an area where you can see, I couldn't go in here today, it was closed, but in here you have memorials to the people. It looks like they're getting it ready right now, working on it. The people that were killed. In here you have memorabilia kind of things from here's wreckage from the crash right there. You can see the hole that was left in the picture there in the wall. You can see that they have pictures and stuff of the day it happened. Yeah, in here there's parts of the plane. Things that were found in the wreckage. Here is the Shanksville, PA. It was headed for Washington, D.C. So I think they're planning on hitting the Capitol or the White House. It's crazy. Yeah, it was the Capitol building I think they're going to hit. So here's the viewing platform. Then I'll go down to where it actually happened. So for me, for 9/11, for me, I was at Hope College. It was my fifth semester. I kind of have a unique experience because I was in Washington D.C. during the spring semester 2000, and 2001. So I left early May. Early May. I left Washington, and of course Washington is where one of the attacks happened, and so there was probably the terrorists were probably, they were probably in Washington D.C. that spring, probably surveilling determining what they wanted to hit. So I kind of feel like in a way I was like kind of not part of the attack, but it was closer to home than a lot of people, and the fact that Hope College was also on the cover of Time magazine, a special edition for the attack. Like a couple days after the attack happened, Hope College was on the cover. So I was at Hope College, and I was in this is like a huge, amazing field here. This is all like a field, woodland, not swampy. And you have hardwoods here, and the field is just lit up with wildflowers. Black-eyed Susans everywhere. So many wildflowers, unbelievable. Goldenrod, fleabane. I just see all kinds of. I see thistle. I see like kind of a small baby's breath kind of flower. Sweet pea. Amazing how many wildflowers are out in this field. Now I see milkweed. No, it's not milkweed. It's Queen Anne's lace. I'll take some pictures after I'm done up here talking to you guys. But so here's the viewing tower, and this whole memorial is lined. This is like the kind of like the trajectory of the plane. However, the plane went straight down, kind of nosedived. It didn't, as far as I know, it didn't skirt the ground very much. It just crashed straight down. So they have a kind of visual with some diagrams. You can see it's exactly what we're seeing here. It's interesting. I never heard about this, but there's a boulder down there, and I think the boulder must have been there when the crash happened. So you can see right there is where the impact was. And there's a boulder at the very end of that, right at the end of that path. And it says the debris field is kind of to the left of it. Right now it's all set up down there for the ceremony in a couple days on 9/11's anniversary, and so they have a tent set up and chairs and things, and so they have this pathway here, these trails that you can walk on, lead you down there. I haven't been down there yet. I'm going to be heading down there next. There's another memorial of some sorts down there. Lots of windmills. It's interesting because that big chunk of forest is gone. There's a big building there. I kind of wonder what that is, because that was not there in that photo over there. So that's recently been built, and then all of that land that's up there, that was all woods. So that was all like torn out recently. So I was sitting in my car, and I just turned on my car. I was getting ready to go to French. I was getting ready to go to French class. Yes, it was French. And I turned the radio on, and there was just kind of like some chatter, some talk on the radio about a plane maybe they said a small plane. A plane had possibly hit the World Trade Center, and it was just kind of like commentators and kind of a brief little news report. Nothing earth-shattering. I think there'd been another small plane that had hit the World Trade Center a few years prior to that. So it was kind of like, So I drove to class, got into the classroom, and I remember I was one of the first ones to mention it. Someone else had heard about it, and there was a TV in the class, and we both kind of mentioned it. And then at some point, it was a smaller class, probably about 20 students in the class at the most, and at some point, I think we turned the TV on, and the professor was a little bit late in getting there. And I was one of the ones that because I was one of the only ones that had heard about it happening. So I was talking about it with the class, with someone else in the class, and we were trying to turn the TV on. I think we eventually turned the TV on, and it didn't take very long where there were other students kind of walking around in the hallway. I was in a building called the Graves Van Zoren. And it's one of the oldest buildings at Hope College, and it's a really neat old stone building right in the center of campus. And it wasn't long that students started walking around. Maybe someone peeked their head in the door. The professor finally came, and he seemed like he didn't know what was going on. And I think eventually he may have left the classroom to find out what was going on, because they were starting to get a little bit, somehow there's more excitement happening in the classroom. I don't remember how. Maybe someone came late and said that class was canceled. But, well, eventually we all just were given the option that we could leave, because it became known that this was like a serious thing going on. The second plane hadn't hit yet, and then so I went back to my room. I was renting a room on 9th Street in on 9th Street or 11th Street in Holland. I was living with an older woman who was renting out a room. So I went back to my room and turned the TV on. I think I was watching the TV, and it wasn't long after I'd sat down that, boom, the second plane had hit. And then, man, I can't remember staying for that French class, but maybe we'd stayed for the French class. And then I went back because we didn't know it was a terrorist attack really until after this, until the second plane hit. And then it was obvious. So maybe we stayed in the French class for the whole time. Maybe not. I can't remember for sure. But I was watching the TV when the second plane hit, and then it was like everything started happening. Then all of a sudden the Pentagon was hit, and then it was all just on, kind of like who knows what was going on the news. I didn't freak out, but I called my dad and was like, we're safe, and we're all safe here in Michigan, but you're still kind of like wondering what the heck's going on. And I got a little bit kind of not panicking, but what could this mean? War, kind of crossed my mind for a minute, like how massive is this going to be, this attack? And I think everyone was thinking that. So Now I actually have it all videotaped. I videotaped it all on my recorder. So then called my dad. He kind of, just we talked about it for a bit. He reassured me everything's fine. We'll make it through it. And then we heard about this plane here crashing. So that's where I was at Hope College. And it doesn't seem like it was 18 years ago or 19 years ago. It seems like it was about, I don't know, 10 years ago. When I went to Norway for the very first time, it was a 10th anniversary of the crash of the attack. It was September 11th, 2010, and when I was flying to Norway. So it was kind of there was definitely nerve-wracking. The security was definitely tight, and I hadn't flown overseas in quite a while, so it was a little bit, like I said, nerve-wracking. And so then we know the rest is history. We went in and attacked Iraq. Then we went to Afghanistan. See, I never was as upset about the attack, how we attacked Iraq. Because Bush gave Saddam Hussein an ultimatum to let us in, or else the consequences were dire. And Saddam Hussein refused to let us in. So so that's how I see it. I see it that he wasn't cooperating. He was refusing. So, that's what we did. I had to do because he wasn't cooperating. So I supported all that, and then then we went to Afghanistan. Looking back on it now, I don't know what to say about it in terms of regretting the war. I don't. To think if we had not gone in Iraq and just gone in Afghanistan, I'm not sure that would have necessarily made any sense, because Iraq was this problem, and it kind of seems it would have seemed kind of fruitless just to go in and attack this kind of tribal Afghanistan with no real central government. It seems like it would have been just an eye for an eye kind of an attack. Nothing that was really meant to cause permanent change, because it would have been impossible. I think the idea is to cause a democracy in Iraq, in the Middle East, to try to, the Arab Spring. And I think it was seen as being really impossible to do that in Afghanistan because of how tribal it was. Iran had nuclear weapons, supposedly, so it seems pretty obvious that Iraq is the problem, was the problem anyways. and then you know, and the mess in Syria that resulted in all of it. So